Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
This today with the president of El Salvador.
Criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next.
Well, that's their video. That ain't me.
Yeah, that's
you
their
gotta
video.
open up 5 more places. Yeah, that's me. All right.
Yeah, because you're not glitching. Just this video's glitching.
Fascism is hilarious.
I love Tesla.
Laughter all around. That was Donald Trump today talking to the president of El Salvador, a man who calls himself the world's coolest dictator.
Cool.
And you could hear there what sounded like Trump promising that he's about
How groovy.
How awesome.
to send to a prison in El Salvador the, quote, homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens. He says homegrowns are next. You're going to need to build about 5 new places. The Trump administration has flown hundreds of non-U.S. citizens to this foreign prison in El Salvador already, including 10 more that they flew there this weekend. Even though the U.S. government has sent these people to this prison, the Trump administration says they have no protection under U.S. law there, that this facility doesn't answer to U.S. courts. The people sent there are just gone. They're sent into that prison maybe forever with no way to be heard, no way to contest whatever the designation was that got the U.S. government to send them there. Certainly no way to get out, ever. Our
Cool.
Which is, I cannot fathom the mental gymnastics that Republicans are doing to try to like defend this.
Well, they, I think, largely are choosing not to defend it, but it's sort of a we're not going to talk about it at all sort of thing, because so Congress is on recess this week.
Yeah, they've
So
been hard at work for a month.
Everyone's back in their district. The Republicans have been told not to hold town halls again. And I think we may get a little, I think MTG is going to have one. But yeah, they're not, you don't hear any chatter from the other side about it. You don't hear any of it because they don't want to talk about it.
They're talking about trans people in sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep them distracted.
homegrowns really next? Would the American president send American citizens to indefinite, totally lawless, apparently permanent imprisonment in El Salvador as well? Is he open to that? Apparently, yes, he is.
If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's
Shouldn't she already know? Never mind.
good.
No,
And
don't you remember her confirmation hearing? She has to like do a lot of reading.
Oh, yeah. That's so wild. She's like, I will look into that.
I have a lot of reading to do about law, apparently.
There's way more than I thought there were. Okay. Whoa, all these books? It would take me like 10, 15 years. I'd be,
If we can do that, that's good. Pam, meaning Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So he wants to send American citizens to foreign prisons where U.S. legal protections.
Darren says that Uncle Roger's a dick. The guy, Nigel's a dick.
Never meet your heroes, I guess.
Yeah, that sucks.
Don't apply at all, where people can be held for the rest of their lives without ever having a day in court or any sort of process. He says Attorney General Pam Bondi is, quote, studying the laws right now to see if he really could do it because he'd love to do it. It was only last week on Thursday when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 in favor of
Jan Wallace in the chat says this all contravenes UN rules. Whole airlines refused to take immigrants to a country in Africa for the UK because they didn't want to fall foul of UN rules.
There's actually an airline, a local airline to New England who is contracted to transport immigrants, and
wow,
there was a protest and a counter protest yesterday at the headquarters, which is somewhere in Connecticut, to get this airline to not do that. I think it's called a Velo, and they fly out of Bradley Airport mostly, or like local airports, like super local. But yeah, so there's already protests going up about our airlines taking contracts with the government to deport immigrants. So that's a thing. And we should not fly on and protest any airline that is accepting government contracts to deport people. Because who knows? It could be fucking you next time.
Of a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a legal resident. He's a Maryland father. The Trump administration admits they sent him to that prison in El Salvador by mistake. The Supreme Court effectively ordered the Trump administration to facilitate this man's return to the U.S. from that El Salvadoran prison without explicitly defining what that would look like. The Trump administration has insisted that they can't return him, and they don't intend to. They said that the man's fate is up to the president of El Salvador for some reason.
I mean, he could have just rode on your plane.
Yeah.
I mean, you were literally going to D.C., which is where the court case was.
You could have brought him with you.
Could have just brought him with you.
And said, sorry.
Yeah, you can ride with me. I'm going actually to D.C. right now.
Yeah.
Today in the Oval Office, it was a reporter who finally asked El Salvador's president if he would please return this man to the United States. The El Salvadoran president called the question, quote, preposterous. Of course he wouldn't.
Preposterous, yes.
So we have here.
Oh, does she have the clip of it?
No, I don't think she has the clip of it. Do you have the clip of it?
I can get it.
Preposterous. Returning someone who is illegally deported. That the American Supreme Court said unanimously, we need to have that guy back. Preposterous. I don't know what the fuck Trump is doing over there. And the El Salvadoran president's like, oh man, this guy's a terrorist. What are we gonna do? Smuggle him back into the country?
Yeah.
Just bring him back. Just take him out of the prison and bring him back. And he's like, there's no way that we can do that. The U.S. government has already violated the Constitution and international law by doing this. And El Salvador is like, nah, but he's there forever now. It's a one-way ticket.
Return the man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is that?
deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country.
Not true.
I would like to say the growing cast of people that come to these they're supposed to be just like press splashes or whatever.
Right.
Where like it's a photo op for Trump and whoever he's sitting next to. Why is his whole fucking cabinet sitting there?
They don't have jobs.
Like, I understand maybe J.D. Vance. He's the vice president. He's got nothing else to do. Except for dropping football trophies. But they call him Butterfingers. Rubio fucking doesn't need to be there. He's just fucking window dressing. Pam Bondi doesn't need to be there. Whoever's on that other couch, they don't need to fucking be there.
Marco's there to translate. Just in case. Bring Marco in here. Bring it. Just have him sit on the couch next to JD. Yeah, put him between JD and what's her tits? Pam.
Oh, Mikey, it just occurred to me. This is The Apprentice. That's all this is.
Yes.
This is all fucking reality television.
He is in a weird fucking dementia dream, and he's on the set of The Apprentice.
He's just this is all TV for him. It's all a production. These are the people that he's going to end up firing at some point.
Right.
Except for Vance, he can't actually fire him. But I don't know how long any of these people actually last.
My Unfinished Journey says Vance is there because couch.
Hey, he is there because couch. If I was Rubio or Pam Bondi, I wouldn't sit on the same couch as JD Vance. I'm just saying.
I would make sure I'd have my own designated spot.
Yeah, I would be like, can I get a chair that he hasn't sat on?
Yeah, which spots have he been in so far? Not those.
You know what the vice president does in the Oval Office when people aren't there?
Smells the he
Politicians, well, that's about the only sin I've never committed. I mean, the one thing I've never done is sniff the throne of someone in power. I find that repulsive. I've never done it.
back to the throne sniffing.
And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and
Also not true.
he was illegally in our country.
Not true. So that's what's crazy about this, is when you have journalists there, sometimes the journalists can be like, actually, that's not true. But this administration is not concerned with what's true. And this is the kind of information that Trump gets. He doesn't read any fucking reports. He asks Pam Bondi what happened. And she tells him. He asks,
it's a lie.
Yeah, or Kirsty Noem or fucking Rubio. That, like, he doesn't actually do anything. He just probably sits on his phone all day on speakerphone yelling and asking for more Diet Cokes.
Right. And that's exactly what he does, actually. The truth is that he did go to court because he had a hearing for asylum, and the court granted him legal status as someone seeking asylum.
The exact opposite of what she just fucking said.
The court said that he is legally allowed to be in the country.
Right.
And that he's not an illegal immigrant. He's an asylum seeker.
Yes.
And he was seeking asylum from El Salvador.
Yes.
He feared for his life in a country he's been put in prison now.
He literally did it the right way.
And now he's MS-13 or whatever, because based on whatever, they made a mistake. They admitted they made a mistake, and they're like, we're not bringing him back anyway. We don't care.
And to just outright pretend like you didn't just say that you made a mistake last week. Last week, you confessed that you made a mistake. So fix the mistake. Not just say a mistake was made. And also, I made up some reasons why it's not a mistake.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court unanimously, all 9 of them, said that you have to facilitate getting this guy back. And well, we're going to see what Trump has to say about all that.
Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled.
That's not up to us. The people who deported him to a place that he didn't want to be because he feared for his life. It's not up to us to bring him back. It's up to the world's coolest dictator to bring him back.
I think Jon Stewart said yesterday, I caught the tail end of his thing. It looks like a Miami club promoter.
That if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question?
Shut your ass up and just get out of the way.
Yes, gladly. So,
oh my God, I didn't even fucking see him there. Whoa.
Who the fuck is that guy?
That's Stephen Miller.
Oh my God.
This is his new form.
Pam mentioned there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So,
is he from El Salvador and he's illegal, or is he the gang ringleader of MS-13?
Right.
Like, which one is it?
They can't even keep their story straight.
Is MS-13 from El Salvador, or is it from the prisons in California? Like, which one are you trying to say here?
with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration...
What? What? What are you even talking about? What does that even mean?
It doesn't. He was trying to get out of El Salvador because they were going to kill him.
Yeah.
He was immigrating to our country under asylum.
And I almost feel like I can hear the right wing response here. Well, maybe they got confused about the cases, and maybe they didn't think. Maybe they were talking about somebody else. That's what due process is for, so that you don't get it fucking confused. Because they're clearly talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the right guy. If I take them to be honest about what they're saying, which is a big stretch, they're clearly not talking about this guy. Because the court record shows a totally different line of events. So who are y'all talking about? That guy that y'all are talking about doesn't exist. And maybe that guy should go to fucking El Salvador. But that's not this guy. Who knows who the fuck y'all are talking about?
Courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know.
Alistair.
You're very familiar with the INA.
I don't think federal courts declare people MS-13.
No.
That's just my thought, but I don't think they're like, well, you're now legally MS-13, so...
The federal courts have a database of all of the prisons and all of the gangs, and they just keep a scoreboard, and then the Sweet 16.
That he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned.
That's not true.
It's not.
You just made that up.
Just because you're saying it doesn't make it fucking true, bro.
That isn't what happened.
The Supreme Court said that's not true.
Yeah.
They said you have to bring him back. He didn't get any due process. You just shipped him out of the country.
And that's and it's shocking that people believe this shit. Like they won't actually look at any type of independent reporting that shows what this guy's court cases, the dates and order of them. But they're just going to blanket believe what these guys are saying, and to lie about this guy's freedom, to just lie about it.
And this is probably going to be clipped later and put on its own video. So I just want to say to the commenters right now,
getting ahead of it.
If you guys let this go, if you're cool with this, the shit that Trump said at the beginning of this segment, where he's like, the homegrowns are next, what makes you think he'll stop at criminals?
Anyone who disagrees.
What makes you think he won't just deport people he just doesn't like?
Right.
Or like all these press reporters who they're yelling at right now, or anyone like Marco Rubio could get deported because Trump doesn't like him anymore.
Right.
It's not about it's not even about immigration. It's about the parts of the Constitution that should matter. It's about the U.S. being a country that doesn't follow this sort of fascist rhetoric where it's like, well, we got to get all the criminals out and all the illegals are automatically criminals because they're here illegally. It's about being a country of laws.
Law and order. That's what they told me.
We're not a country of laws right now. We're just a country of whatever Trump says and whatever Stephen Miller echoes.
Yeah.
Whatever Pam Bondi thinks.
Well, that's a stretch, but
whatever she recently read.
Well, it's I mean, like RFK's brainworm, we can't see that. But this is Trump's brainworm. Stephen Miller over there, that is Trump's brainworm. He is the bigot who has been feeding him all of this migrant shit. It's him. He's the guy. And he's been on that shit since he was in college. I've been making fun of him. He's actually not that old. He's like our age, Tim.
I know.
I've been making fun of him for like 9 years because he's been a weirdo this entire time.
Yeah.
Because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador.
And that's literally not what they said.
Yeah, I'm going to look up what they said because it was a very short order.
Like, he just contradicted exactly what Pam Bondi just said, where they said that you do need to bring him back. And then she said, well, we can't because he's in El Salvador. And then he's up here saying the Supreme Court said that we don't have to bring him back because the president said that he doesn't have to. Like, they're just fucking lying. And they're telling two separate wrong lies right in front of this idiot, and he doesn't even know the difference. Like, they can't tell the fucking difference anymore. They're all fucking stupid. Like, they just told two separate lies about the same event. And Dum-Dum's back here with his fucking orange face just fucking nodding along, smiling. Like, yup. Didn't even realize that they're contradicting each other.
El Salvador, from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged.
Have you looked at the fucking cabinet? Never mind.
The most barbaric activities in the world.
That's all fear tactics. That's all that is. And they say that about everyone they don't like. Oh, they rape, they murder, they kill, and all that stuff.
Trump's a rapist.
Yeah, like it's.
I'm pretty sure RFK killed a couple people.
It's all. I mean, it's all fear tactics. They just want you to be afraid of others, so that you will be okay with deporting them, and then you'll be okay with when they start deporting U.S. citizens.
Yep. This is all to soften you guys up.
Yeah. Trump said, he said it at the beginning of the clip. He said, the homegrowns are next. That means American citizens, us. Criminals are not. Us.
All the people at the network TV shows and stuff like that. Like journalists, lawyers.
Yeah.
Veterans who don't want to get in line. Shit, Joe Rogan ass might get deported.
World, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for anything to get him back?
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor.
In our favor, against the district court ruling.
See, that's the thing. He waits for someone who's actually read, he assumes, to tell him what that means. Trump does not comprehend what that fucking ruling said. Did you find it, Tim?
Yeah. So the Supreme Court said, or I'll put it in the chat for you so we can all read along.
Okay.
Just go to page 2 because the first part is background. The Supreme Court said the application is in part granted and denied in part, the subject to the direction of this order. Due to the administrative stay issued by the Chief Justice, the deadline imposed by the District Court is now passed. To that extent, the government's emergency application is effectively granted in part, and the deadline in the challenge order is effectively no longer effective. The rest of the court's order remains in effect, but requires clarification to remain.
Where you at?
In the middle of that paragraph there. Yeah. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abreu Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. So the Supreme Court said, you got to get him back and you got to try him properly. The intended scope of the term effectuate in the district's court order is, however, unclear and may exceed the district court's authority. So the Supreme Court said the district court didn't have the authority to say this, but we do.
Right.
The district court should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. For its part, the government should be prepared to share what it can concerning the steps it has taken and the prospect of further steps. The order foretold entered by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is vacated. So what the court did, and what Stephen Miller was fucking twisting, was they said the district court didn't have the authority to say this, but we do. And if the district court will clarify what effectuate means, we can move on. You need to get this guy back, and you need to try him properly.
No,
that's what all 9 justices said.
but let's hear him say it again.
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends.
It's not what it fucking says.
That's not what that said. We can read the whole thing if you want, and it says that nowhere.
Fucking making up shit.
We can read the background. We can read the concurring opinions by the other justices. And nowhere does it say that.
We only got 2 pages left. Statement of Justice Sotomayor, with whom Justice Kagan and Justice Jackson joined, respecting the court's disposition to the of the application. The United States government arrested Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia in Maryland and flew him into a terrorism confinement center in El Salvador, where he has been detained for 26 days and counting. To this day, the government has cited no basis in law for Abrego Garcia's warrantless arrest, his removal to El Salvador, or his confinement in a Salvadoran prison. Nor could it. The government remains bound by the immigration judge's 2019 order expressly prohibiting Abrego Garcia's removal to El Salvador because he faced a clear probability of future persecution there, and demonstrated that El Salvador's authorities were and would be unable or unwilling to protect him.
That's what I was saying, is that the court ordered that he cannot be deported to El Salvador because he was seeking asylum from El Salvador.
That's literally the place he was getting away from. And the courts all knew about this. So how is he illegal if the courts are all... application to vacate injunction 13A. The government has not challenged the validity of that order. So he's good.
Yeah.
He was on asylum for good reason. Instead of hastening to correct its egregious error, the government dismissed it as an oversight. Declaration of our Cerna and number 25 CV. Jesus Christ. The government now requests an order from this court permitting it to leave Abrego Garcia, a husband and father without a criminal record, in a Salvadoran prison for no reason recognized by the law. The only argument the government offers in support of its request that the United States cannot grant relief once a deportee crosses the border is plainly wrong.
And then she cites a couple of cases that say it's plainly wrong.
You go for it. I'm going to get some... Oh, you can
Okay.
see it, right? I'm going to get some coffee.
Yeah, I can see it. The government's argument, moreover, implies that it could deport and incarcerate any person, including U.S. citizens, without legal consequence, as long as it does so before a court can intervene. Because every factor governing requests for equitable relief manifests ways against the government, I would have declined to intervene in this litigation and denied the application in full. Nevertheless, I agree with the court's order that the proper remedy for this is to provide Abrego Garcia with all the process to which he would have been entitled to had he not been unlawfully removed to El Salvador. This means the government must comply with its obligation to provide Garcia with due process of law, including notice and opportunity to be heard in any future proceedings, and it must comply with this. And is there any more after that? It must comply with its obligations under the Convention Against Torture, see Convention Against Torture and other cruelty or inhuman or discarding treatment or punishment. Federal law governing detention and removal of immigrants continues, of course, to be binding as well, requiring a warrant before any non-citizen may be arrested and detained pending a decision on removal. In order to revoke conditional release, the government must provide adequate notice and promptly arrange an initial informal interview to allow the alien the opportunity to respond to the reasons for the revocation stated in the notification. Moreover, it has been the government's own well-established policy to facilitate an alien's return to the United States if the alien's presence is necessary for continued administrative removal proceedings. I think that's the part that he fucking twisted.
Mm-hmm.
He is taking Justice Sotomayor's words and twisting them to say, well, if he comes back, we're just going to redeport him again. But no, what she is saying is you have to have him come back so we can go through the right processes to see if we actually have to deport him.
Right.
In cases where a non-citizen has been removed pending immigration proceedings. Oh, yeah. Okay. I already read that. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Directive facilitating the return to the United States of certain lawfully removed aliens and the proceedings on remand, the district court should continue to ensure that the government lives up to its obligations to follow the law. By the way, that is some wild statements from any Supreme Court saying that the courts have to make sure that the government lives up to its obligations in following the law. So we read all of that except for the background, and we already know the background. Where in that does it say that the U.S. government can't go get him?
Or that El Salvador shouldn't feel compelled to do it? If El Salvador, and you see their president sitting right there, he should read this. Do you feel like you're in compliance to it?
Right.
Oh shit! I gotta send one. There's an accidental, so we gotta send them back. It's their constitution. It's what it is. As long as he's getting paid the same amount of money and we're paying for the jet, what is the fucking problem, guy?
Right. He was probably told, hey, don't do it. He was probably told when they ask you, say that we can't.
Right. Well, let's hear his response.
Ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked President
Bukele,
Bukele, can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
it's hard to hear him, but because he's mumbling. He said it would be illegal for me to smuggle a terrorist into the United States, I think is what he said. I'll hear it again.
Also suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
And look at Trump's face. Now, y'all can't tell me. Look at his face. Watch his face. Here, I'll make it full screen. I want y'all to look at his face and watch his reaction to this guy saying this. And you tell me that he has read the Supreme Court's decision.
How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. We're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western.
Now, y'all keep promising me that he plays 4D chess and all that. He has no idea what's fucking going on, man. No idea. He has no idea that this is happening. This is all fucking brand new. He is learning about this in situ. They told him 5 minutes before they walked out there what he was talking about. He has no idea.
Yeah. And the only person, that told him about it is Stephen Miller. You can't trust a word that Stephen Miller says.
He's over here asking him, what was the decision? How did it come out?
Oh,
imagine if any president didn't know a huge Supreme Court decision, didn't know the voting. Imagine.
This is going back to Trump's trade representative not knowing about the change in the tariffs in that hearing.
Yeah. Oh, I got it.
WTF? Who's in charge?
By the way, we have a comment in the chat. Russell Cannon says it's too wordy though. They TLDR'd it and just look for something that they could read as it is agreeing with them.
Yeah.
That is, first of all, that's one of the shortest Supreme Court opinions you can find. 4 pages.
Yeah. That's why I didn't mind us reading it. I was like, look, we actually got one we can do. Yes. Nice.
Yeah. And by the way, the Supreme Court is not agreeing with us.
Right.
We are reading a Supreme Court opinion that is contradicting what fucking Stephen Miller said about that Supreme Court decision. Like, we were pointing out the lies of Stephen Miller and the Trump administration as compared to all 9 justices of the Supreme Court saying, get this guy back. He needs to go through lawful proceedings.
You have to do it the right way. They can't, they're not your boss, but also you shouldn't have done it in the first place.
And that the Trump administration should tell El Salvador, hey, we need him back.
And Trump's sitting right there with fucking gumdrops skipping around in his head. Like, there is nothing going on up there, y'all. Stephen Miller is the puppet master at this point. Well, for this scene on stage. Because he look at him. He has no idea what's going on. He's just thinking about golf. He's fucking,
He's thinking. Did you see his annual physical report?
Oh my God.
Where
6'5", 215.
Yeah, he's like
1% body fat.
There, I saw some pictures like comparing how Trump looks compared to like athletes who are actually that height and weight, and it's like, damn, I didn't know Trump had that in him. Oh, sorry, Russell, I thought that you were talking about us, not about Stephen Miller. I get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to come at you. Don't
come at Russell. How dare you? You know what?
Shame!
That's what you get, Tim.
Shame!
Get off of Russell.
Hemisphere, you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
They'd love to have.
But he's fleeing your murder capital. You see, that's why he left. Is because you were the murder capital. So he came up here to hide from your lack of governance, right? So he ran away from your government to go to this government, and now you're sending him back, but then saying that he needs to stay because he doesn't want El Salvadorans in El Salvador.
Right.
If you want, if I was El Salvador, I'd say, oh, he's a criminal, get him out of here. No, he's got a great record. He's a winner. He used to work at the orphanage, making kites with the orphans. Oh, he was such a guy. I'd pump him up, get him out of here, get them all out of here.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you're keeping him.
For criminal,
yeah. I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about
it? Yeah, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegal.
Here we go. Here. Third time's a charm. They'll get it this time, Tim. They're gonna get it.
He's like, oh, Marco, hey, you want to take the mic for a few seconds? You want
to?
He said, I cry enough as it is. I'm just kidding. I don't cry that often.
Legally in the United States and was.
He always looks like he's about to weep.
I know.
Turned
I know.
to his country. That's where you deport people back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We want a case.
That's not what they said.
They said that a district court said something that was too vague and not enforceable, and that they need to make it less vague, and then it's enforceable.
But in the meantime, he needs to come back while this is decided. Yeah. That's what they said. It's 4 pages.
9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But
why? Why? Because it's fun? Because we're them? Like, what are you talking about? Why? These people love releasing Wolverines into the kindergartens. Like, first of all, how do I acquire a Wolverine?
President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting?
And it just totally dodges it.
Yeah, well, he's like, I'm tired of answering this question. Let's move on.
How dare you remember what I said yesterday?
How dare you remember what happened yesterday?
It must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built.
Pretty soon we're going to become this country.
Jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So
I think it's quite the opposite, actually. I think people who have common sense and are smart understand that what you're doing is insane. It's crazy. It's bonkers.
I mean, what is a country without a constitution?
Well, there's only a few options if you're not if you don't have a constitution anymore, and that's like monarchy, or like authoritarian, or bad and wrong.
This is what happens when crimes go unpunished.
Oh yeah, this is what happens when you elect people as president who are convicted felons for various things.
But hey, we'll get them in the midterms, huh? Unbelievable.
Will there be midterms? It is only April. It is only. We are at like almost the 90-day point for Trump. I know it feels like forever, but it's only
I feel like we're on year 6.
This is crazy. How can someone just like withstand this for? I don't even get it.
Somebody says country without a constitution equals a Walmart on Black Friday. Bedlam, I tell you. What midterms? That's what I'm saying.
I I don't know, man. Everyone hoping for the midterms better pray real hard that Trump decides that there should be elections in the future. Before he, deports everyone who opposes him.
Right.
Like, I don't know, guys. We seem to be backsliding pretty hard into authoritarianism. And Baldy McMiller over there is the architect of it. Him and that Vought guy who's in charge of OMB or OPM. Oh, by the way, I learned through one of our caseworkers at the Congresswoman's office that the Office of Personnel Management has today's Tuesday. Today they are getting rid of their caseworking department. They're getting rid of the department that handles problems people have with the government. Good. And our caseworkers are like, I don't know how that's going to fuck us over, but it's going to fuck us over.
Why would we need that?
Yeah, why would we need people to help when you have an issue with your Social Security check not showing up?
Because they're about to turn them shits off.
Yeah.
And before they turn them shits off, they're unplugging the phone.
They already did that at Social Security.
They're going to rip everything out of the wall and they're going to put it in the dumpster so that when people call to complain, there's no one there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that when this shit goes bad and there's no way to get at that money anymore, there's no one to redress.
Yeah. Oh, that was another one of the redress of grievances with the First Amendment. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore.
They literally gave away the fucking Constitution for eggs.
It's true. I mean,
they gave it away.
It's so crazy that they didn't want a black woman to be president. And now Trump will be, I assume, the last president.
The king.
He's going to declare himself the God Emperor of humanity. And I mean, that'll be the ball game.
I mean, is it Fallout time? Like, are we getting into like I got a frog in my. There we go. There is my voice.
There we
like
go.
Had a gurgle in there. But I guess that's Fallout. I mean, maybe the Covenant can land. That would be good.
Yeah,
that'd be a nice plot twist.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see any of this going too well in the next year.
Right.
I don't know how we're gonna make it to the midterms as a country, because Trump just admitted that he's open to deporting American citizens
for any reason that he can think of.
Yeah, well, first it's going to be they're criminals, and we got to get rid of the criminals. But then it'll be, well, I don't like them.
Yeah,
I'm declaring them enemies of the state.
Being woke is now equivalent to terrorist.
Right. Yeah. No. If woke equals terrorism, I'm sure is going to be.
So we got to either put them in camps or send them to the prison camps in El Salvador. Or wherever else he can. Maybe North Korea will take some.
Yeah.
Just send people wherever the fuck you want to send them.
Fuck, man. That's all. All right, Mikey. Is that the last clip we have?
I think this is the last clip for Earth.
Check out some of our other content. We would love to see what you think about the one on the screen right now.